Crimson Trace offers a full line of protection-oriented products, including red laser sights, green laser sights, and tactical weapon lights to elevate your confidence in moments that matter. Learn more at crimsontrace.com.
Hey, y'all. It's Tom Gresham's Gun Talk. Oh, look out. We're smoking.
All right, let's talk about some guns. I'm Tom Gresham. The show is Gun Talk, so we're going to do that. We're going to talk about guns and shooting and self-defense and hunting and gun collecting and safe gun storage and a lot of other things. Basically, anything that has to do with guns, we'll talk about it. And if you would like to introduce a new subject, well, we'll do that too. Just give me a holler, 866-TALK-GUN. See if I can help you out. I almost always have an answer. May not be right, but by golly, I'll make it up. We have a guest. We're going to get to him in just a second, but first Jane's called in, and she needs some help, so I'm going to see if I can help her out. From Huntington, Arkansas. Hey, Jane, welcome to Gun Talk. Let's see if Jane's there. Hey, Jane, you there? She walked away from her phone. We told her not to do that. Tell you what, put her back on hold. When she comes back, talk to her. We're going to bring in our guest now, our friend, Marty Hayes is joining us from the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network. Hey, Marty, how are you, sir? See if Marty's there. I don't know. I'll tell you what, we'll see what happens here. I think we told him to wait just a minute. We surprised him by doing that. We'll put him back on hold. In the meantime, I was talking earlier about Beto O'Rourke, Robert Francis O'Rourke. He has dropped out of the race. And I wanted to for just a second talk about this because he was insignificant, and I think he is charging ahead into obscurity. But what he did was very important, because what he did was pulled back the curtain to show everybody who was paying attention what the gun control movement really is, what the gun control movement is really about. When he called for widespread firearms confiscation, sending armed men door to door to take your guns, and no one, not a single one of the Democratic candidates on the stage with him pushed back. No one said, no, we can't do that. They all are in favor of firearms confiscation, widespread gun confiscation. So whenever they talk about, well, why can't you just compromise, or common sense gun control, or we just want red flag laws, or we just want universal background checks, or it's reasonable, understand that all of that is a lie. And Beto O'Rourke basically exposed it. I've been telling you this for 25 years. It's all a lie, because they want all your guns. They're willing to take them a little bit at a time, but they want them all. And they are willing, and they will send armed men to your door, and they will shoot you, and they will kill you if you don't turn them over. Not hyperbole, fact, history, track record. They have done it. They are doing it. They will continue to do it. Make no mistake. And that was the value of Beto O'Rourke's candidacy. I believe we have Jane back with us right now out of Arkansas. Jane, how are you? Well, we don't. Okay. It's just going to be one of those days, isn't it? I tell you what. All right, let's do this. We're going to take a quick break here. We're going to get our guests and everybody lined up. And when we come back, we'll have some more gun talk. We'll be right back.
When the U.S. military's elite units and law enforcement agencies across the globe demanded innovation and reliability, they didn't settle. They chose Sig Sauer. When world champion professional shooters demanded precision accuracy, they didn't settle. They chose Sig Sauer. So it's no surprise more and more civilian gun owners are refusing to settle for anything less. They're choosing Sig Sauer firearms, ammunition, electro-optics, suppressors, air guns, and training. Sig Sauer. Never settle.
This land, once wild and free, fades now from our memory. But I remember what it was like, what we were like, what we are capable of when we band together. Perhaps perhaps more than any other landscape, wetlands embody the life-giving abundance that nature has to offer. And perhaps more than any other organization, Ducks Unlimited is working to ensure that our continent's wetlands not only survive, but thrive for generations well beyond this one. These natural wonders are where waterfowl begin their cycle of life, where the deer and the antelope play, and where we, the people, gather together to see and share what makes the outdoors so great. The time is now to band together with organizations like Ducks Unlimited. The time is now to rescue our wetlands.
For 25 years, Crimson Trace has led the industry in laser and light technology and customer service. Now, Crimson Trace is proud to offer electronic sights and rifle scopes for tactical, target, and hunting applications, with the same Crimson Trace offer of free batteries for life on all products. The new rifle scope line is also backed by an unconditional lifetime warranty from the brand that you have trusted for over 2 decades. Find out more at crimsontrace.com.
All right, that radio, 866-TALK-GUN, or just call Tom Talk Gun. That's me. If you got a story to tell, you want to ask about a gun, think about buying a gun, I can help you with that. I can pretty much recommend something that will work for you. Doesn't matter if it's hunting, target shooting, or obviously self-defense, which is frankly the reason most people buy guns. It's the reason most people get into guns. For 50-plus years, when people are asked, why do you own a gun, self-defense, self-protection is the number one reason, continues to be. Marty Hayes is the head of the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network. He joins us right now. Hey, Marty, how are you?
I am great, Tom. Hey, before we get going,
Yes, sir.
give a shout-out to a fellow named Greg, who is currently taking a class here at the Firearms Academy of Seattle. I told him I had to get away for a minute and come and talk to you, and he says, I love Tom Gresham.
For those who don't know, Marty is the head honcho at the Firearms Academy of Seattle, which is actually, what are you, about 60, 80 miles south of Seattle, actually? Something like that, maybe 100. 100 miles, okay. So you're far enough away to where it's safer and more comfortable, and close enough if you had to get up there, you could.
Far enough away that if somebody dropped a nuclear explosive device on Seattle, we would probably survive.
There you go. All right, Firearms Academy of Seattle, and Greg let you get away from him for a little bit. I appreciate that. Before you came on, I was just talking about Oklahoma just became the latest state to have constitutional carry, where you do not have to have a permit to carry a gun. And I'm trying to remember, I think the number may be up to 17 states now. It's a bunch that have that. And I was trying to explain to people, I said, that's all well and good, but I strongly encourage people to go ahead and get training, even if you're not required to take a class, just because this is serious stuff, and there are uncountable ways to screw this up, right?
Yeah, that, along with the fact that if you have to justify your actions, then many times you can count upon the training you receive to help you justify those actions.
Oh, that's a good point. So not only can you use the training to do the right thing, but also if you have to justify it to the police and then perhaps even later to a court, you can say, I did this because the training that I took said that I should do this. And so that becomes a factor. Is that something you see when you're, because I guess we should explain, the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network, you actually work with people who have been in shootings or self-defense situations, and so you know what works as far as legal defense of people who correctly use guns in self-defense.
Right. In fact, one of our board members, Masad Ayub, has been doing this for 40 years, and it's really his advice that we follow with the Armed Citizens Network. It's one of the reasons why we have our 8 educational DVDs when a person signs up, is that then they could use those educational DVDs to bolster their case of a legitimate self-defense.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about, we're seeing in the news states who are going after outfits who have offered insurance for concealed carry holders or for self-defense use. And you have from the very beginning said this, what you guys do is not insurance, right?
Yep. And in fact, the Washington State Office of the Office of Insurance Commissioner is looking at our program now after having fined the NRA and after having fined USCCA because they were offering insurance. And it's our argument is we're not insurance. And so they don't have control over this, and we may end up making that legal argument in court, but I think we're going to be in pretty good shape to prevail on that.
Yeah, because, I mean, from the very beginning, you said, look, we do not offer insurance. That's not what we do here. So explain how it works, if you would.
You mean the network?
Yes.
Yeah, the network benefits basically is that you join the network, and in addition to the educational package you receive, you also have a few other benefits, one of them being that if you're involved in an act of self-defense, that we will help you with your legal fees if you end up having to spend some money to defend yourself. And that was our primary goal from the beginning. The help is not guaranteed. You have to convince us that it was a legitimate act of self-defense before we're going to offer to help you with your legal costs.
And I should say, and the people you're going to have to convince are people like you and Masada Yub, who's on the board, people who have a law enforcement background. I mean, for those who don't know, you were a cop for many years, and then you went to law school, so you have your law degree as well. You could apply both of those and their training and their experience to that. And you're not going to look at this and just go, well, yeah, that's fine, it's good, it's fine. You're going to look at it and say, no, was this a good use of self-defense? Did you apply force in a correct manner, and was it justified? Otherwise, just, people come in and go, well, I'm just looking at a story right now. Guy got charged with murder because he shot a robber in the back as he's running away, and I'm thinking, well, yeah, you don't want me on that jury. Trust me, don't come to me and tell me that the guy was running away, going down the street, and you shot him in the back, and somehow that was justifiable.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't have flown.
No.
You're going to have to make not a perfect case, but at least a convincing case beyond a preponderance of the evidence that you were acting in reasonable self-defense. That's all.
The other thing is, it's not just money that the network provides. And I wanted to talk about that for a second because you have experts. You have the ability to go in and say, look, here's a good lawyer. Because not every lawyer understands legitimate self-defense with a firearm, right?
Right.
So what are you looking for? I mean, how do you help somebody who's in the middle of this beyond just the money?
Well, there's two things that have to happen. One is they need immediate representation. And that doesn't have to be a homicide-rated criminal defense lawyer as much as someone who understands the concept and the premise of self-defense and is willing to interact with the prosecutor and police right away and explain to them why your act was self-defense and that they're barking up the wrong tree if they're going to prosecute you. But if you are prosecuted, then we have a handful of attorneys that are willing to fly across the country to help you at trial. These guys are murder-rated, homicide-rated self-defense attorneys, and they do have a clue. Right.
Sometimes, though, I'm listening to what you're saying, and I think what I'm hearing is if you do it right from the very beginning, the best way is to avoid getting charged in the first place, and that's where having a sharp attorney who understands legitimate self-defense use talk with the police and with the district attorney, the prosecutor, to say, no, this is how this all came down. If you could stop it at that point, you're miles ahead, right?
Exactly. And frankly, you're even further ahead if you don't have to shoot. If, because of your education and experience and training, you anticipate this attack coming and you either exit or stop it before it becomes lethal, then that's the best outcome. But having said what you said, yeah, we want to be able to short circuit this either at the grand jury level or if it's a state where the prosecutor decides, then let them make that decision by having the facts communicated through your attorney.
Yeah, we're talking with Marty Hayes from the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network. The website is armedcitizensnetwork.org. Marty, you mentioned avoiding it, basically avoiding it or getting away from it. And more I'm seeing within the framework of literature of self-defense with firearms, a lot of study, a lot of books and papers and things about exactly that, of recognizing the threat way out there, whether it's, we call it Left of Bang, which is a really great book, or the work by Steve Tarani, he's doing some good things, and Andy Brown and what he's been letting people know about, and on and on. And if you are a student of this stuff, I would suggest that it would maybe the most important thing for you to develop that skill so you never have to use your marksmanship and firearm skills.
I would absolutely agree, and there's nothing I can add to that.
Well, now, you work with a lot of these guys, and you've been a cop. You understand, and people, I think there are people who don't know. Maybe you could explain just a little bit of, you really can recognize this stuff if you're paying attention. Talk about that for a sec.
Sure. Let's just say that you're walking down an urban street, and it's dark, it's at night, and you see three guys across the street a block ahead. All of a sudden, they cross the street to be on your side of the street. Mm-hmm. Well, that's a clue.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you should stop walking and take a minute to see what they're doing. Maybe they duck into the local store and it was all good. But if they stop and hang out and look for you, then that's a clue, and you can avoid getting in confrontation with them. You might end up going across the street again. Or you simply duck into that local store and hang out for a while.
With other people.
Exactly.
I always tell people, Marty, I said, look, people say, well, you got to have hope. I said, no, actually, in this situation, hope will get you killed. So because if you say, well, I hope they're not really a problem, and then as they come closer, I hope they're not going to bother me, and then as they accost me, I hope they're not going to hurt me, and then I hope they're not going to kill me. If you're just taking some time and effort ahead of time, you wouldn't have to rely on hope, because hope, in fact, will actually get you killed.
Yeah, many times. We call them pre-attack indicators.
Okay.
And, if you're in a close proximity, let's say that these three guys are a lot closer than that, and they start fanning out to get to the side of you. The loud mouth in the middle is getting your attention, and these guys start fanning out. That's a pre-attack indicator. You're about to be jumped from the sides.
I remember Mossad talking about if they start clenching their fists down by their sides, they're actually getting ready to make an attack. They're getting themselves revved up. You can, if you can see the breathing start getting, and that's where it helps to have taken some training on how do I get out of this. And sometimes you got to check your ego to get out of the situation, right?
Yeah, and not only how do you get out of it if it happens, but how to recognize it and be able to articulate in court why at that time you decided to pull your firearm and tell these guys to get the hell out of there. And now they're all offended and they call the police because they don't think that they did anything wrong. But if you can articulate that, they were setting up to attack me. They came across the street when they saw me down here, and then when they got closer, they fanned out. And I knew from my training and experience that I was about to be attacked. So I drew my gun and displayed it and told these guys to back off.
You said something interesting, and then they call the police. If you pull your gun out, you should be calling the police as soon as it's over, right?
Yeah, you need to be the complainant. And if nothing happens, then you're just a one line on a police report in the computer saying subject called and said that he was being threatened, and that was it. But if something does happen and you end up having to shoot somebody, then you're already the complainant, or you're the complainant as soon as after. I can't even talk now.
Right after it happens.
I'm so wrapped up, Tom, I can't talk.
I know. You want to get back on the range. You got a guy standing out there saying, where'd he go? I'm here to do some training with Marty.
Actually, we're in the classroom, and I've got my assistant taking over. We're teaching one of the classes that we had to start teaching because of Initiative 1639 that was passed last year.
What's that?
That class was, they said that every semi-automatic rifle is an assault rifle, and now you have to have a training course if you want to go buy one.
In the state of Washington?
Yes.
Holy cow.
And so we unfortunately have to teach this class. We've been doing that for a year. The good news is we just got petitions to overthrow or to outlaw this 1639 language. And so I'm teaching a class, and asking people to sign a petition so they don't have to come back and take the class in 5 years.
Oh my gosh, what a mess! Unbelievable. Well, Marty, how's the network going? Because you've been at this for a number of years now, and I think people are getting smarter about understanding they need to have something. They need to have help available if they do get into a self-defense situation.
Yeah, the network's going strong. We keep growing. We're not as fast as we were, say, 5 years ago, but we're steadily increasing in numbers. We're up to 17,500 numbers-wise, and we've been able to put $2 million plus in our legal defense fund.
And you have actually had to go help people and at all different points in the process. I know that.
Yeah, most of the time the help comes from making sure they've got legal representation after an act of self-defense, not necessarily shooting, any act of self-defense. And, in fact, we've never actually gone to trial on a case. We've had over 20 instances, and they've all been either dismissed or the person decided that they'd take a plea to avoid the chance of being convicted, and the plea was a low-level misdemeanor-type plea, and it made sense at the time. Right.
Sometimes you take the best deal you can get to avoid the possibility. Because once you go into court, you never know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah, and you really don't. So, and we've had 2 or 3 of those, and there's a couple times when people actually kind of screwed up, and so they have to face the music, but they get a lot less music to face.
I like
because
that.
They had good legal representation.
Yeah, there you go, and go get some training because it makes a huge difference. It's the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network at armedcitizensnetwork.org. Marty, thank you so much for what you guys do. I very much appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Tom, and keep up the good work.
Will do. Tell Gil hello for me, and tell Greg hi.
I will do that.
All righty. Take care. All right. Open lines for you right now. 866-TALK-GUN. When we come back, we're going to talk a little about what's going on in Virginia. Also, perhaps, a little bit about this Second Amendment rally that was just held in Washington, D.C. If you were there, call me. 866-TALK-GUN.
A girl can't go wrong with something in basic black, like an AR-15.
Some things never go out of style, like Tom Gresham's Gun Talk.
People ask me, so what can I do? How can I help the Second Amendment? How can I help gun rights? There are a lot of different ways, but here's a couple of websites you may not have been to before. I'd like to suggest you take a look at these. The National Shooting Sports Foundation, of course, is the firearms industry trade group. It's not the gun lobby for individuals. It's the group that represents manufacturers. But they also do a lot of really good things. So I would ask you to go take a look at the website nssfrealsolutions.org. That's NSSF for National Shooting Sports Foundation. nssfrealsolutions.org. Take a look at all the things they're doing, how you may want to get involved in that. But also, here's the big one. Project Child Safe is 20 years old now. I was at the very first one of those. That is where gun makers provide the money to have firearms education kits, including a gun lock. We, the firearms industry, have given away 38 million free gun locks. Let me say that again. We have given away 38 million free gun locks, working with police departments. The first one was 20 years ago in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I was there. If you would like to get involved, if you want to help out, because it takes money, make a tax-deductible donation if you want to. ProjectChildSafe.org/donate. I know some people have been holding their money back, don't want to give it to the NRA. They're saying, but I want to put it somewhere. Well, here's a place. Who can be against giving gun locks away to people? And look, it's not requiring people to use it, but people who want to have safe storage of guns. People who have children in the house and still want to have a gun available, have a gun lock. Okay, that'll work. Just learn how to use it. It comes with educational material. ProjectChildSafe.org/donate. All right? Very good. All right, we have an election coming up very shortly here, and it's a big one. And there are a few areas where people may not have caught on to what's going on, but one of the key states right now is Virginia. and a fellow who has been on the ground in Virginia for many years, making a huge difference in gun rights. Phillip Van Cleve from the Virginia Citizens Defense League joins us right now. Phillip, thank you for taking some time out. I know that you are an incredibly busy guy right now.
Yeah, Tom. Well, I'll make time to be on your show. I really, really have always loved your show. Yes, it's the busiest time I've had almost forever because there is so much at stake. So much. The election is Tuesday, and we're literally holding our breath on this one because all the marbles are at play, basically.
Explain that. Explain for those who are not there what's going on in Virginia and what could happen if it goes the other way.
Okay, well, Virginia has major elections this year. We're one of the few states that literally our entire General Assembly, House and Senate, is up for grabs. Every seat in there, all 140 of them. And Bloomberg has been pouring millions and millions into this state as Soros trying to influence the election. They basically want to point to Virginia as a what the future is going to look like for elections next year nationally. And so they're really trying to make Virginia, go anti-gun and, what's at stake? The bills that they put in that we've been able to kill year after year, they're going to come back. And if we can't stop them, we're looking at red flag laws, universal background checks, assault weapon bans, magazine limitations. It's a long, long list that they're going to want to do because they've done this. They put them in, we just killed them.
I was just going to say, this is not conjecture. They actually have introduced these bans and these bills into the legislature, and so far you've been able to stop it. And frankly, it's been on party lines. And what they're trying to do, and I want people to understand, you're not making this up because I get this information from other sources. Bloomberg is putting millions of dollars into Virginia to switch it over to become blue, to become Democrat. And you might explain what the situation is with your governor.
Well, the governor. Our governor has made it perfectly clear that any gun control that arrives on his desk, he will sign. And if pro-gun bills arrive on his desk that he doesn't like, he will change them and send them back. Which, they could get passed in that case, maybe not, but he's said he will change them. And he had this blackface thing where he had gotten into a scandal over that. And before then, he was talking about killing babies after they were born. He deals with children as a doctor, is what his profession was. But it was a bridge way too far for a whole lot of people to think of a living baby making a decision if we're going to keep it alive or not. That's laying on a table waiting to either live or die.
And when he got in trouble for that and for the blackface, then he switches over. And we've seen this happen in other states. It switches over and jumps on gun control. It's kind of like, don't pay attention to that other stuff that I'm doing. Now We're going to talk about gun control and jump up and down on that one. And the media just bites on it because they can't lay off of them. It's like a high pitch they can't lay off of. And so he's able to distract them. But I guess the question is, explain to people why, if you live in Pennsylvania or Ohio or Wyoming, why do you care what's going on in Virginia?
Well, because they're looking at us to be a model. We're an extremely pro-gun state here. If they can flip this over, I can tell you, I've heard that they're looking at Kentucky next, and they will simply focus millions and millions and millions of dollars. It's an AstroTurf movement, but they've got so much money that, only if you get gun owners out to vote will you be able to defeat it. In Virginia, we have approximately 2 million gun owners. We have 660,000 permit holders alone. If all of those people went out and voted, there's probably nothing we couldn't do. It's just a matter of waking up all those sleeping people out there that don't realize that they've got a lion that just stepped onto their back deck, and they better do something or they're going to be in a lot of trouble.
And, to explain, I'm a media guy. I've made my living in the media for 50 years. And the idea that somebody has enough money to walk into a state and essentially buy up all the available advertising in the major markets, because that's all you really have to do, and we've seen it happen. We've seen it happen in Oregon. We've seen it happen in Washington. We've seen it happen almost, at least partly, in Nevada, where they just blow in there and they spend that kind of money. And they just look at it and go, when you're Michael Bloomberg, and when you have $60 billion with a B dollars, you can say, well, I'll go drop $5 million into each of these state races, and that will dwarf everything else that's being spent, and we can simply buy our way to whatever we want at this point.
Exactly. For him, it's pocket change. For us, it's an unbelievable amount of money. Well, I mean, I sit there and fantasize, what if we had somebody that was on our side of the fence with billions willing to throw a lot of money in this, but we just don't have it. All I do is I watch donations coming in from our thousands of members, and we're depending on that.
But we do have numbers, and as you say, I guess two things. One, if you're in Virginia, you got to go vote. If you're not in Virginia and you know somebody in Virginia, you have 1.5 days to contact your friends and your relatives there and tell them, look, this is what this is about. I don't know what you're being told, but this is what's really going on. And this is basically a blue versus red, and blue is not just gun control. Blue is gun bans. Blue is gun confiscation in Virginia. And more than that, it is the test bed. It's the proving ground. It will become the model. It will become we did it in Virginia, therefore we can do it everywhere. And that's what really is happening here.
Yeah, doing it in California is no big deal anymore. Nobody pays any attention to it. I mean, they're already so far down the path. But if you can take a state like Virginia, and Bloomberg really hates us because he tried to go after some of our gun dealers, and we got a law passed that if he ever tried that again, it would be a felony. And he's never forgiven Virginia for going after him that way. Because we didn't put up with his baloney down here. This was like 10 years ago.
I remember that.
That's another reason he's got a real, he really wants to put the crush on Virginia.
Yeah, he sent undercover officers down there breaking the law, buying guns illegally across state lines, and when he had no jurisdiction in there, doing it from New York. So, yeah, he's got a mad on about that. Well, if people want to know more about it, I guess it's almost too late. And this is the whole deal. But I do want to give out your website so people know what you're doing. Because I don't know, how long have you had Virginia Citizens Defense League?
It was formed in the end of 1994. Back then, we were a may issue state. The first thing we did in 95 was become a shall issue state.
Wow.
And so we've been very successful. We've done full preemption. We got rid of all local gun control and all that. Oh, they want to roll that back. And I guarantee they'll want to roll back the states that we honor to carry in Virginia, and that'll in turn roll back our ability to carry in other states. I guarantee they're going to come after that.
They'll kill reciprocity there. It's VCDL.org.
VCDL.org.
Right. It's Victor Charlie Delta Lima.org. We'll take care of it. Phillip, I know you got to get back to it. You're working hard. Thank you. I want to give you my personal thank you and appreciation for everything you do.
And thank you for telling everybody to contact people in Virginia. Thank you very much. Bless you.
Absolutely. Phillip Van Cleve. If you're in Virginia, give me a holler. Let me know what's going on there. Also, if you're thinking about buying a gun, tell me what it is. If you don't know what you want, but you're thinking, I may need to buy a gun, call me. I can help you out. Just call me at 866-TALK-GUN.
The pistol that redefines pocket carry just got even better. The Ruger LCP-2 has improved sights, an easy-to-rack slide, a larger textured grip surface for a secure grip and recoil reduction, and a short, crisp, single-action trigger pull for real-world accuracy. It's so small and light that there's no reason to ever leave home without your LCP-2. A serious pistol in a pint-sized package. Learn more about the LCP-2 at Ruger.com.
Are you looking for a place to shoot? The National Shooting Sports Foundation has a great website called wheretoshoot.org. It's the largest database of shooting ranges on the internet. It's also a great resource for shooters where you can find video tips, printable targets, and a lot more. Find it online at wheretoshoot.org. And while you're there, download their free iPhone app. That's wheretoshoot.org.
You got your carry permit, and that's good. But you know you could use more training. Get the DVDs, which have what you need. Springfield Armory presents Concealed Carry 1 and Concealed Carry 2 with Bata Group. Learn specific concealed carry skills from Top Gun fighting trainers. Get trained. Be prepared. This really is life and death. ShopGunTalk.com. That's ShopGunTalk.com.
For 36 years, the U.S. Sportsmen's Alliance has been fighting to protect hunting, fishing, and trapping for sportsmen from coast to coast. Today, we are under constant attack from extremist animal rights groups who want to end your ability to hunt in the U.S. Join us to protect our sporting heritage and our way of life outdoors. To join or for more information on how you can help, go to ussportsman.org. That's ussportsman.org.
Brownells.com is your home for all things firearms. Looking for a retro rifle? How about the BRN 180 or 180S? Named one of SHOT Show's best products of 2019. Visit Brownells.com for guns, ammo, reloading equipment, or anything you need to customize your firearm. And enjoy the industry's only guaranteed forever satisfaction policy. To stay up to date with the latest and best deals from Brownells, text BRN to 556-223.
It's interesting how various touch points in your life will sometimes come together and you think, I remember that thing way back, and that makes sense to me now because I can tap into that. Many, many years ago, I wrote a book, which I think proudly has the worst cover ever put on a book. I had nothing to do with that. But the title of the book is Close Calls, and it's a collection of stories where I interviewed people who had brushes with death or terrible things happen in the outdoors, hunting trips, fishing trips, hiking, that type of thing. One of the things, it was interesting, in the process, and I will tie all this together at some point, trust me, in talking to all these people, and they would be trapped in a snowstorm or in a canoe that overturned, they're having to tread water, independently from each other, not talking, not coordinating. I heard the same thing from about, I would say maybe half the people. And they said they would, when they're fighting their way through whatever this thing is, there's actually a conversation taking place in their head. And it's like, that old cartoon thing of you got the devil and the angel on your shoulders. And one voice is saying, fight on, fight on, fight on. And the other one is saying, it hurts too much. It's too cold. I can't do it anymore. Just give up. With the absolute full understanding, they told me, that giving up means dying. So one voice is saying, fight on, and the other one is saying, give up. It hurts too much. And one of the things that came out of that was the understanding that you are more likely to survive that kind of a situation if you are in better physical condition. If you can tread water for longer, if you can walk through the snow farther, if you can put up with stuff. A fellow I used to know from the bow hunting world, turns out he was a trainer with the CIA, but he had a saying, he says, tolerance increases with exposure. I said, well, what do you mean? He said, with everything. With cold, with heat, with exhaustion, with other people's. Tolerance increases with exposure. Well, on this recent trip when I was out in Idaho, I was thinking, it's time to get into better shape because the hills are steep, the altitude, the elevation is high, and I live at sea level. And so that's my new thing for this year, embarking for the 2020 season of working out, working more, getting myself in better shape, not just for survival, but to be able to perform and hunt better. And no, I did not get a deer. In fact, when we come back from this, I'll tell you what happened. There was a buck, and he was in range. And no, he did not succumb. And no, I didn't even shoot at him. But I'll tell you what happened here when we come back. Our number is 866-TALK-GUN. Did you go hunting this year? Are you going hunting? Tell me about it. Let's swap hunting stories. Again, 866-TALK-GUN or Tom Talk Gun. I'm Tom Gresham. This is Gun Talk. And we're back with you, 866-TALK-GUN. Jane's called in from Arkansas with a question for me. Hello, Jane. What are you doing here?
Well, we've been having a little trouble. Can you hear me now?
I got you fine. Thank you.
Okay. My daughters and I, we hunt on the Mount Magazine here in Arkansas. And we've been using a 243, and the problem with that is we're not getting enough damage to the deer to leave enough of a blood trail if he gets up and runs.
Okay.
Is there such a thing as a hollow point 243?
Well, you don't want a hollow point, but what you do probably want is better bullets. Do you happen to know what kind of bullets are in the ammunition you're using?
Well, my daughter uses Federal. I use Winchester 150 grain.
Okay, it would not be 150 grain if you're shooting a 243.
Well, that's what she said she had. That's why I was saying.
Yeah, it's not. Trust me. It might be 100, but it's not 150. If you're using a 243, here's what you got to do. 243 is certainly adequate for deer. I'm going to recommend two things. It's not the ammunition, it's the bullet. The actual projectile is what you have to be shopping for.
Okay.
So you may get Federal ammo, but they have like 10 different types of bullets. Not just weights, but types of bullets. So what you want is probably Barnes bullets or Nosler partition bullets. Those are the two. They're tougher bullets. They will penetrate farther. They'll actually go through a deer and go out the other side, which is a good thing if you're trying to track them. So number one is to use tougher bullets. Get the Barnes X bullets or Nosler partition bullets. The other thing, and this is going to go against everything you've been taught, okay? Shoot them right in the shoulder, not behind the shoulder. Shoot them right in the shoulder. In the shoulder and break the shoulder. Drop them right there. But that only works, again, I'm going to go back, that only works if you're using tough bullets that will penetrate. Because if you use soft bullets that will blow up on the shoulder, they're not going to get through to the vitals. But if you use those good bullets that I just mentioned, the Nosler partition and the Barnes X bullets, and you can get those in loaded ammunition, they will go through and break both shoulders. And people are going to say, oh, you're going to waste the meat. Not as much as if he runs off and you don't get him.
Amen.
Yeah. So get good, they call them controlled expansion bullets, and shoot them smack dab in the shoulder, break the shoulder, and if you can get a broadside shot, it'll break both shoulders. They will drop like a hammer, and then you go up and do what you got to do. And, yeah, you're going to have to cut around some meat, but that's okay because at least you got your deer. I appreciate that. And, yeah, Black Hills ammo, by the way, loads a lot of this bullets as well. So check Black Hills ammo. They've got a lot of this. So, you know, but the key is, and look, I appreciate the call. The key is having good bullets as opposed to cartridges, not ammo, but the actual projectile. And frankly, I think that the really good bullets we have today from most of the manufacturers have a controlled expansion or a bonded bullet. I think it kind of moves each caliber up one notch from what we used to think of. 243 was thought of as kind of a varmint to light deer. And with these good bullets, I wouldn't have any problem shooting a mule deer with those. And you can shoot them in the shoulder and drop them. Yeah, I know people say, well, you're going to mess up the meat. Yes, you are. There it is. Do you want him or do you not? Now, if you're okay shooting right behind the shoulder and you're getting good penetration and you're getting good blood trails and you can find them if they run 50 or 100 yards, because that's all they're going to do. Generally, they're going to go 50 or 100 yards. Then that works as well. But take advantage of the technology we have today because we have all these great bullets. Hey, when we come back, we're going to be talking about the Second Amendment rally that was just held in Washington, D.C., and also a fairly new program that has the potential for reducing gun deaths in a good, positive way. And it's something that I think that we can all get behind. So I want to share that news with you. Don't go far. Also looking for your range reports, 866-TALK-GUN.